What's good, gang? How's everybody doing? It's a phone video today, which is okay. It's not about the device that I'm recording on, but rather the message I'm trying to get across. You know what I'm saying? I want to go on a little bit of a tangent on that point, actually. I feel like a lot of people worry about the hardware and the software and I need this lens and whatever, right? They get caught up in all the gear and the dopamine of buying the gear and fixating on the gear and I need to buy this camera, right? Because it has 10-bit, 422, when, it doesn't matter. Story is king, in filmmaking and in general videos. I think the message you're trying to, get across is ultimately the most important. And I think, a nice lenses and nice technology are potentiators for good skill in conveying, a certain emotion, let's just say, right? Anyways, that is not relevant. I've been doing a lot of thinking and it's been kind of burdensome, I can't lie. I feel this crippling inadequacy with myself. I just feel I'm not good enough or whatever, right? And from an outsider's point of view, it's so easy to say oh, don't stress yourself out, you have all these things and oh, what's wrong? Don't be so hard on yourself. But it's how do I do that? How? I think there's a reason why I feel this way, right? The emotions I feel are a result of a reaction to something else, right? And I have to think, what is that something else? Is that something like a fact or fiction, And sometimes you're feeling down for a reason, And you really just have to dig deep and find out why is that the emotion you're feeling, It may be a correct emotion, so just really think about it, really sit in it. Don't blind yourself with dopamine from, scrolling Instagram. Really sit in that emotion of just I feel bad. And why? Why do I feel bad? And how can I solve this issue? I feel like a lot of people, the second they get the bad feeling, they just go oh, let me hit the cigarette or something. And they just numb it. But there's a reason why you need pain, right? And there's a reason why you need these negative emotions is is to learn, really. Andrew Tate said, not that I'm a huge Andrew Tate fan, but he does say some quite insightful things. He said, we can't just tell people what to do. The greatest, let's just say, influences of the time always disguised morals in stories and fables, in i.e. the Bible or the Quran, in order to teach you lessons, right? Because people don't really value something easy, right? You tell them the wisdom and they don't really take it, right? They have to learn it over the course of time and have some hardship and friction to learning that thing in order for them to value it, right? That's why the greatest stories of all time are stories that take a long time to read and also are metaphorical rather than just giving the advice straight up. So for me, I have to ask myself maybe I feel bad for a reason, and like, how can I solve that issue, right? If I just numb myself with dopamine, I'm not gonna go through the process of like fixing that problem, let's just say. Yeah, so that's what's up with me. I know, don't be so hard on yourself, like whatever, but maybe this is my journey. Like, I was thinking, like my grandfather, my grandmother told me, yeah, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like, that's easy for her to say from her point of view, from her reality that she lives in, right? I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to diss my grandmother, you know, but what I'm saying is, like, maybe we don't have the same, like, way of stratifying thoughts, in the sense that, like, that's not actionable advice. And, like, I don't know, it's just like, it's easy to tell someone else what to do. Like, oh, don't be so stressed. It's like, for me, you're not in my head. You don't understand why I'm stressed. You don't know, right? I appreciate her advice, right? This is not me dissing her, but I'm just saying in general. And like, for me, like, I'm likely feeling stressed for a reason, right? And I have to find what that reason is and go solve it. And I feel like once I solve it, this might be the hedonic treadmill, but once I solve it, that stress will go away. Most likely not. So, like, is it a mindset thing? Or is actually just like an inadequacy that I need to fix? Because a lot of people, I'm told that, oh, you need to be content with your life. The grass is always greener. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Whatever, right? Be content with what you have. Love your life. Blah blah blah. I agree with that, but where do I draw the line between, like, love your life and enjoy everything you have, and, like, you should strive for more? Is that even the right way to, like, are those two things even on the same spectrum, like, debate? Am I looking at it completely wrong? I don't even know. Yeah, that's what it is. I don't really know, man. It's like, it's a lot to think about late at night. One thing I do know is that I'm grateful to be alive, for sure. Because if I was dead, although I wouldn't have these problems, I'd also be dead. So, that wouldn't be too nice. Sometimes I don't realize how lucky I am to have certain amenities, right? Like, I'm over here stressing when there's a freaking roof over my head. I'm in a comfy bed. I just took a nice shower. And my grandmother gave me some comforting words, right? So, like, I'm definitely grateful for those things, but I think what I need for me is a perspective shift. Just to level me out, let's just say. Because, as I said in my Korea vlog video, I said that, like, I think intermittently you need to gain some shifts in your perspective, right? Whether that be trying a new thing, like, volunteering at the food shelter, or, like, volunteering at the old people's home, right? Like, you think you have all these huge issues, but then, you go volunteer at old people's home, and you're like, wow, like, oh, I'm 5 pounds overweight, like, big whoop. Like, those old people do not care whatsoever, right? Those are not even issues they're thinking of, to be honest, right? Or like for me, for example, like, oh, my training sucks. Like, I'm stressed because my numbers are not going up. I don't even make progress. I'm spinning in circles. Like, oh, my body doesn't look like this. It's like, oh, I didn't get enough calories in. I'm so screwed. Oh, the protein. And it's like, you go to a food shelter and you're like, wow, like, these people are not even thinking about that kind of thing. Like, it's such a privilege for me to have these issues. And I'm over here stressing about freaking calories and macros, and these people are just trying to make a freaking, like, get by, So I do think perspective shifts are important, and that's something I need. And this is a original idea of mine. I'm pretty much sure of the idea of perspective shifts. I don't know where else I heard it. Like, I think this is an original idea of mine. But yeah, I do think once you start to not live in your head, let's just say, because you're definitely not going to overthink your way out of a problem. That is for sure. Like, once you stop living in your head and start living for others, let's just say, or like, in a third person aspect, at least, then you start to realize, your issues it's not that big, right? And how do you get those perspective shifts? You talk to people, you learn about them, you get to know them, like, that kind of thing. That's something I need to do, I think. I hang with the same people every day. Not that I'm not grateful, and I have a great time with Peng and Christoph, but occasionally, variety is the spice of life, And for me, at least, the reason why I make these videos is because I can't speak to anyone else about these issues. And like, me recording this video makes me feel like I am speaking to someone else. That sounds, very depressing, but it is what it is. That's why I always like making videos. It's a way of like journaling. It's literally a vlog, a video log, or like a journal. It's like a video journal, right? Journey, Aiden's journey. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's why I like recording these videos, man. It's like somewhat therapeutic. I need to get back into it because I do like recording videos. It's extremely therapeutic, and I love editing the videos. I just haven't had the time because I've been hanging out with my friends a lot. But like, I realize, like, as great as it is to hang out, right? It messes up my schedule. Like, I can't do both things. I can do both things, but like, sometimes there's certain clashes, right? Like, we'll sleep late because we're getting dinner out, but then we've gotten dinner out the last 4 days of the week. Like, it's all straight on my wallet, right? Like, all of that. Like, I love hanging out with my friends. Don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful, but variety is the spice of life, I want to try salsa dancing, or like bachata. I think that'd be pretty cool. So, yeah. That's me just like speaking, I guess. Yeah, I feel a lot better than when I started this video. So, it only took 14 minutes to do that. Guys, so this is like, I recommend you guys do this as well. Like, just, if you ever feel bad, just start recording and just like speak your mind. Because like, thinking in your mind is a lot different to speaking. Speaking is actual conscious. Like, thinking is there's a lot of moving parts you're not aware of. Once you start to put it into spoken word, or like when you start to write things down, it's a bit different, I liken it to the example of if I asked you to do 2 plus 2 in your head, you can do it, right? But if I asked you to do 4,786 plus, 7,892 times 2, right? It would take you a lot more time to do that, right? Whereas like, if you wrote on paper that same equation, It's a lot easier, right? So if you can't even do a basic math equation in your head, how you supposed to solve your own issues in your head, right? So speak out your stuff, write it down. I think that'll definitely help you. You know, me doing 15 minutes of this video was like super helpful. I feel a lot better than when I started, so I'm just trying to give you guys some advice as to feeling better. Yeah, I still yearn for that deep connection, with a romantic partner, let's just say. That's why I started this video, actually, because that's the inadequacy I felt. I felt like I'm not good enough. I felt like I'm not deserving, right? I felt that's different to me actually not me, like in actuality. His feelings differ from reality sometimes, most of the time. And I realize it's okay to have these emotions, right? So with the right person, you can open up and say these emotions, and they'll be like, damn, okay, it's okay. Like, the right person will, like, like the freaking alpha males on like YouTube and Instagram will say, like, never open up to your girl. They're gonna think you're weak, right? They're gonna leave you, right? If you open up to your girl and they leave you, right, or they have less respect for you, then that's not the girl that should be in your life, in my opinion. Right? The right girl will understand that, like, okay, this guy's under a lot of stress. Like, I can understand where he's coming from, but like, let me pick him back up. Let's just say. That's why it's very important to be open and be yourself at the start of the relationship. Because if they're turned off by your style of communication, then you're filtering them out early, right? As opposed to later in the relationship when you start like opening up about, your issues and that kind of thing. Whereas if you start from the get-go, I don't mean like trauma dump first date, just like your whole thing. Like, definitely just be yourself. Let's just say be a version of yourself. How did I get on this topic? That I don't know. Yeah, I realize I have to open up, on topics like the one I'm speaking about, for a person to begin to like me. And it's very scary, the idea of opening up to someone and not knowing if they'll like you or not, after you open up. Sometimes I feel like, I dealt with a lot of emotionally unavailable. I dealt with one emotionally unavailable person back before. We won't name her, but for those of you who know, you know. And I was just thinking, like, I give all these, this energy towards you, and you don't reciprocate it. It's because that person was not emotionally available, right? It didn't have any reflection on me. I at the time I thought it was reflection of me, thinking I was like, oh, I'm so inadequate, and like I'm not good enough. I need more money. I need to be taller. I need to be handsomer. Whatever it was, right? Whatever cope excuse I was making, right? And sure, those things do have some bearing, let's just say. If I was taller, if I was funnier, well, whatever, right? But also, like, it's also a reflection of, it might just be a reflection of her, right? She's not willing to open up. Yeah, and I realized recently, for me, I have a hard time opening up. I did open up to one girl. I don't speak to her anymore, though, but it was great. Like, I got to really connect. Like, I could be myself. I could be cringe. True freedom is realizing you're cringe and still choosing to be yourself anyways, right? So I could be myself, which is great, and actually it's great. But yeah, I don't speak to that girl anymore because of something I'm not going to say here. But anyways, that's a different story. Like, what I'm saying is, like, be yourself from the beginning. Open up, be vulnerable. Not too vulnerable, but like definitely be yourself. And I think once you ease into it, definitely try to be vulnerable as early as possible so as to filter them out, you know, or attract the right people is what is, you know, what could be said. So that's some advice I'll take myself. This has been a very therapeutic 20 minutes. I should probably do this more. I should do this more and do post a lot of videos. Not recently though. I'm still yet to post a freaking Korea video, but I'll get to that. Anyway, see you guys. It's complete raw and unedited. Peace.